Hello and welcome to Southern Utah University, where Utah State women's basketball team is set to take on the Southern Utah Thunderbirds. I'm Jaden Johnson here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com with the call for you today. Should be a good one between the Aggies and the Thunderbirds. We're down here at the America First Event Center, where Utah State looking for a little bit of revenge after losing to to Southern Utah, not Weber State, last season. So Aggies with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder trying to bounce back from that one. Well, Southern Utah trying to pick up their first win of the season. Southern Utah, rocky start to the year. They lost their first match of the season when they played BYU. That was an overtime loss. They fell 67-75, really a tough one. They blew an enormous lead in that one. So similar way that Utah State's season started with losing to UC Irvine. They then went and played the University of San Diego on the road, lost 59-72, and then just lost at home a few days ago to Binghamton University, 66-72. Meanwhile, the Aggies coming off of a heartbreaker against Arizona. They made a big effort and a big push later on in the game after starting out very poorly, lost to the Pac-12's Arizona 49-65. They also defeated Dixie State before that and lost to UC Irvine. So they're coming in 1-2, but should be a good one, in-state rivalry. These two teams haven't really played as many times as you might think throughout their history. Utah State leads the series 5-3, although Utah State is 3-0 here in Cedar City. So Utah State with a slight advantage there. We're going to go. I talked to Coach Finkbeiner just a little while ago before they got to the arena here today, and I got some good comments from him. I found some of the things that he said in this interview really interesting. So I'm going to cut to that real quick, and then we'll come back with a little more pregame analysis, talk about the starting lineups for each team, and about what Utah State is going to need to do in order to beat Southern Utah today. So without further ado, here is an interview from Utah State's Coach Finkbeiner.
All right, Coach, we spoke pretty briefly after the Arizona game, and you said that there really weren't any positive takeaways you could have from that. What have been the emphasis in practice, and what have you really worked on leading up to this one?
Well, one is probably just understand the big picture, both the team and our staff, that it's a process, and we're still very, very young, and sometimes we take for granted some expectations, maybe based on experience, but we're still technically the second youngest team in the country, and we just got to be patient and just understand it's all about the process, and the process, we're preaching to the girls even before Arizona game, the process is more important than the product, and so it's a long season, and game to game we hope to learn things. I think from Arizona game we just learned that we got to really understand the game plan, and I don't think our staff probably fully delivered it, and obviously I don't think our team fully understood it. So but at the same time, Pac-12 opponent is no easy task at hand.
So this season the team's been playing a lot of full court press, playing really aggressive defense, and you're getting over 10 steals per game, but it seems like it's also caused a little bit of foul trouble. How do you balance that out and teach your players to, play aggressive but also stay out of foul trouble?
I think one thing we're looking at with our game plan itself, because we've changed some things up from last year, we're trying to open it up a little bit and create more scoring and more up and down 94 feet type of play. But it's a good question to ask, and when I reflect back on our 3 games this year, is that we've got to cut the turnovers out and the missed layups out of our half-court offense. Our full court is going to cause turnovers, and we're going to get rewards for it, but we can't afford to get into the half-court when we need to be more selective and more disciplined and make the little gimmies and not turn the ball over in that setting. So I don't mind turnovers as much in the full court right now, but I do mind in the half court because we have to have more discipline in the half court set.
So last season you played Southern Utah. They had a little bit of a disappointing season, but they still got their biggest win of the season up in Logan. How much do you use that as motivation? Do you really look back at that game at all coming into this one?
Well, we look back, we started 3 or 4 freshmen then. Now we're starting, I think we're going to start 4 sophomores tonight. We're going to have a little different lineup. But it's, again, all about the process. Last year's team really didn't understand probably the magnitude of day one, versus even 4 months later in March. But no, we're not looking at last year's season versus this year's season. But what we are looking at motivation-wise, I'm challenging the team that good teams win half their games on the road, minimum. And so we're going to try to, that's our motivation today is not only to get a win, but to make it a 50-50 season, losing at Irvine, hopefully winning tonight, gets us that one-on-one record, that 500 on the road, and that's the motivation, because we want to be a good team by March, and so in the whole picture of it, win and loss 50-50, and then at home winning 80% of the time. So that's where we want to be at.
Do you find yourself recruiting against Southern Utah quite a bit?
No, not really, because we're in the different parts of the state. They recruit the southern part of the state. We recruit more the northern part of the state. And they also, like us, recruit a lot out of state. I have a lot of respect for their staff. We know them well, good people. Every once in a while we come in touch with them on the road, but unlike maybe Utah and BYU, Southern Utah, we really don't have the same recruiting list, so to speak.
So throughout history, USU really hasn't played a lot of these in-state teams like Southern Utah and Dixie all that many times. It seems like the last few years, though, it's become a lot more common. Is that kind of your own personal philosophy and something that you've tried to do while you're here?
You know, scheduling is not a science, and it's not real easy to do. But and also you got to factor in budget. Our budget is not really good when it comes to games and scheduling games and road opportunities. So these local, regional games where we can bus saves a lot of money in the long run. But same token, you know, I also look at this too. I can't blame the budget, because we do have opportunities to do lots of stuff. But the advantage of these games is that we travel a lot in the New Year's, from January on to Mountain West. So these games, even though they are a bus 4 or 5 hours away, it doesn't take its toll as maybe as a game in Texas or a game in the East Coast. So it's a win-win, lose-lose, however way you look at it. I don't mind playing in-state teams as long as we win.
All right, well, thanks, Coach. Good luck tonight.
All right, thanks, Jaden.
All right, so that was Coach Finkbeiner, head coach of the Utah State Aggies, just talking a little bit about the team's performance against Arizona, as well as their matchup today with Southern Utah. Teams taking the court, getting ready for starting lineups, so we'll announce those as they announce them. But as I mentioned, you know, a good in-state rivalry. Although these teams have only played a handful of times, only 8 times, Utah State leading the series 5 games to 3. We are going to take, looks like they're about to have the national anthem, so we'll pause for just a moment for that. Keep it here, though. All right, so we're about ready to go. For the Utah State Aggies, the real question of the season so far has just been consistency. That's kind of been the I guess the theme of the season is whether this team is consistent, whether they can be good consistently, because we see them so good at times. They came when they played UC Irvine, dominated for much of that game, looked really good, had a lot of players step up that maybe you weren't expecting. And then they blow a 20-point lead in the last few minutes. Against Arizona, same kind of thing. They started out incredibly poorly, got down 21-9 early on in the game, fought their way back, and then just didn't have enough juice to get back in it. Southern Utah, a young team coming off of a really rough season, 7-23 overall last season, 2-16 in Big Sky play. And they're just trying to look to make a little bit of, you know, make things happen. And they start off the season really well, taking BYU to overtime. BYU, obviously, a really good team. They did that on the road. and lost in overtime, but they had an enormous lead in that game, which they blew. So it's kind of the same story as Utah State, kind of similar teams here. Obviously, on paper, it looks like Utah State should have the upper hand here, had a much better season last year than Southern Utah. However, Southern Utah, one of those 7 wins that they picked up, was at the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum in Logan. So, and that was a dominant win, too. That was probably Southern Utah's biggest win of the season, won 70-54 and led the entire way. I mean, for the most part, 38 minutes and 37 seconds of it, at least. And they got that lead up to as much as 21 at one point. So really a dominant showing from Southern Utah in that one. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lineups. Utah State was already announced, but they're going to be starting with, at point guard, Eliza West. Jessie Gear making her way into the starting lineup. We have not seen her start so far this season, but looks like they're going to put in Jessie Gear instead of Deja Mason. So kind of going with a much smaller lineup. They're not going to have a big body presence like Deja Mason in the post. Then Olivia West, as well as Shannon Duffesey and Rachel Brewster. And you heard in the pregame comments from Coach Finkbeiner, he talked a little bit about changing up that lineup. We'll see how it works. Going small ball, this is a team in Southern Utah that's really not very good in the post. So probably I'm excited to see how that works out for them. Southern Utah has only blocked two blocks per game this season, and they've been blocked 5.7 times per game. On the rebounding battle, they've really kind of struggled as well. They've been out-rebounded 41 to 47.3 this season. So, again, can't blame Coach Finkbeiner. We'll see how that works out. For the Southern Utah Thunderbirds, they're going to be starting with Rebecca Cardenas, as well as Ashley Larson, Brianna Reed, as well as Whitney Johnson and Peyton Torgerson. And that's your starting lineup for the Thunderbirds. So we're just about to get underway. Players lining up. The tip-off will be, looks like they're going to have Shannon Duffesey go in place of Deja Mason. Shannon Duffesey will probably spend the majority of her time in the post, at least here in the first quarter, and she's going to tip against Ashley Larson for the Thunderbirds. Southern Utah, again, 0-3, trying to get some momentum rolling. They've been close in all the games they've played, or at least relatively so, but just haven't gotten any wins yet. So Utah State wins the tip and immediately goes to Jessie Gear, who makes her first start of the season, and Jessie Gear drives right to the left side of the hoop and puts it in. Aggies up 2-0 in a matter of less than 10 seconds. So Utah State, again, going with the full court press. We've seen it a lot this season. In at point for Southern Utah, Brianna Reed. And Brianna Reed works it inside. They kick it out to Whitney Johnson, standing a few feet out on the right side and gets it to go. Ties it up at 2 apiece. Utah State the other way. Olivia West drives at the rim. Doesn't get it to go. She thought she was fouled, but a ref says, no, ma'am, it goes out of bounds off the baseline. And Southern Utah inbounds. Aggies putting pressure up high. Utah State's pressure has worked really well for them this season, getting over 10 steals per game. On the flip side of that, though, as Utah State is called for a foul on the baseline, I'm sorry, as Southern Utah is called for a foul on the baseline. Looks like not a foul, but she stepped out. Well, on the flip side of that, Southern Utah averages a remarkable 14.3 steals per game, 11th in the nation. So Aggies tied up 2-2 a minute in. Eliza West gets it to Duffesey, top of the arc. Duffesey over to the right, finds Olivia West. Thought about shooting. Instead, she's going to drive in, up to the right side. Right hand doesn't go, but Duffesey's there for the rebound. Duffesey has 1-on-3, and she still puts it up and gets it to go to give the Aggies a 4-2 advantage. So good start here for Utah State. Now at point, Bree Reed tries to pass it into the lane, gets stolen away by Olivia West, though. And Olivia West has just had incredibly fast hands this season. So Eliza West tries to dribble and beat her defender, but it's stolen away out at the wing. And coming back the other way, Southern Utah goes to drive it into the hoop, and Eliza West, the shortest player on the team, gets the block for Utah State. So fast reaction by Eliza West. It does go out of bounds on the Aggies, so Southern Utah with the inbound. They inbound it to the left side. Reset back up to the top of the arc. Over to the right, here's Cardenas. Cardenas driving, plows into Olivia West, who draws the foul. Olivia West been so good at drawing fouls this season. It's been fun to watch. So that is going to go as a turnover against the Thunderbirds and Utah State possession. Aggies up 4-2, 8:01 remaining in the first quarter. West dumps it into Olivia West, who shoots it out left side, 10-foot jumper from Shannon Duffy goes. Coming back the other way, Cardenas drives at the rim, puts it up from short, and it bounces off, doesn't go, but goes out of bounds off of Utah State. So it will stay on the Southern Utah side of the floor. Inbound coming from the baseline. Southern Utah struggles to get open, but they find Bree Reed. Reed's shot doesn't go. Aggies get the rebound. Duffy was there. Duffy leading the team in rebounds with 10 per game. Fantastic start for the season for Shannon Duffy. Eliza West at the wing. West gets a screen set by Brewster, and she's going to drive up the right side. Is fouled hard on her way up, and so she will head to the free throw line for a couple. Eliza West, the reigning Mountain West Freshman of the Year. Looks like they're going to say that the foul was off the shot, so she's not going to get free throws. But Utah State does remain in possession. Baseline throw in. Goes to Brewster. Brewster over to the right side for Gear. Gear making her first start. Gets it up top of the arc. Here's Eliza West. West back to Gear, back to West. West goes left side for Olivia West. Back up to the top. 14 on the shot clock. Working around the screen from Brewster. Kicks it out to Olivia West. Puts up the three. Can't get it to go. But Brewster is there for the rebound, which is swiftly taken away by Southern Utah. Bree Reed with the fast hand. She's going to drive the other way. Goes up for the shot. Is fouled on her way into the lane. Looks like that foul, I believe, on Eliza West. So that's her first. A couple of free throws coming up for Southern Utah. First shot by Bree Reed goes. Reed, a wonderful player for Southern Utah, returning starter out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. She makes the second as well. She's played every single game of her Southern Utah career now as a junior. Hasn't missed one game. Coming back the other way, Utah State with Olivia West winding her way around the top. Gets it over to Gear. Gear screen set by Duffy, who's going to get open for three, and Duffy's three is airballed long. Rebound picked up easily by Bree Reed. Reed coming back, charging into the lane, and she beats Eliza West to get a couple. Ties it up 6-6, 6:20 to go in the first quarter. 4 of Southern Utah's 6 coming from Bree Reed. The other way, 3 goes up by Rachel Brewster, doesn't get it to go. Olivia West fights for the rebound but doesn't get it, so Southern Utah takes over. Looks like they're just going to slow things down a little bit. Winding her way up to the top. Here's Peyton Torgerson. Torgerson, who checked in, tries to pass into the key, but it's stolen away. Olivia West, fast hands. Kicks it out to Eliza on the wing. Olivia West gets it back. Dumps it in. Duffy wide open in the key. Makes the easy bucket to go up 8-6. Southern Utah not having any problem breaking the press as Brianna Reed launches it up from 3, doesn't get it to go. Nowhere close. Aggies coming back the other way. And Olivia West, a nice hook shot, working her way into the lane, goes for a Utah State 10-6 lead. Coming back, Cardenas weaving in and out, kicks it out to the corner. Shot put up by Torgerson, doesn't go. Duffy there for the rebound. Duffy already 3 rebounds, leads the team. And on the other side, Aggies drive in, get it to go. Shot was from Eliza West, picking up her first points of the game. Coming back the other way, stout defense by the Aggies as they draw a charge on Southern Utah. Foul going to go against Ashley Larson. Ashley Larson, that's her second, so I won't be surprised if we see her check out for a minute. Timeout is called as it's a media timeout. We're just under 5 minutes, 4:54 to play in the first quarter. Utah State with a 12-6 advantage. If you are Coach Finkbeiner, you've got to love what you've seen from your squad so far. Utah State really looking pretty good. Shooting 6 of 11 from the field so far. 0 of 3 from 3, which has kind of been a problem for the Aggies this season. Just inconsistent from beyond the arc. We'll see if they can clean that up. But yeah, 6 of 11 for 54% from the field, and holding Southern Utah to just 2 of 7 for 28%, and 0 of 2 from beyond the 3-point line. So it's really been all Utah State so far. Leading the way is Shannon Duffesey. Looks like she might be on pace for a monster game. 6 points already, 3 rebounds, leading in both of those categories. Eliza West with a couple of assists for Utah State. The only Southern Utah player with more than a couple is Bree Reed, the junior guard for Southern Utah with 4. And really been, as I said, just a good start for Utah State. You can't ask for too much more out of the Aggies than what they've done so far. Maybe clean it up, but they've had the ball stolen away a couple of times, so a couple of turnovers, and I'm sure that's probably what Coach Finkbinder's down there talking to him about. But at the same time, they've picked up 8 points off of Southern Utah turnovers, so you can't feel too bad about that. These two teams. It was kind of interesting to hear Coach Finkbeiner talk before the game that there's not really a ton of competition in the recruiting between these two teams. Whereas when they were talking about Dixie State, he said that there were quite a few players that they had recruited for similarly. But so an interesting difference there between Southern Utah and Utah State's past opponent, Dixie State. Aggies with the ball on the inbound. Here's Olivia West driving her way into the lane, works it up with the right-handed hook, doesn't get it to go. Deja Mason has checked in for Utah State. Southern Utah with the rebound as they're coming back the other way. Looks like Haley Bassett also has checked in, as has Emmy Harris. So, and for the first time this season, Victoria Price. We've got 4 Utah State substitutions following that. Southern Utah out left side on the wing. Going to kick it in just a little bit. Stolen away. Deja Mason tries for it, but it stays in Southern Utah possession, and 3 goes up long from Skyly Doman, doesn't get it to go. Aggies with the rebound, coming back the other way. Victoria Price travels. Victoria Price has not played a single game this season as she's been hasn't been medically cleared to play, but she played a pretty significant amount of time her freshman season before sitting all of last year on a medical red shirt. So it's going to be fun to watch how she does. She started quite a few games for the Aggies in her freshman season, and a huge player to get back. Glad to see her on the court. Coming back the other way, Deja Mason picks up a steal as Kiana Johnson tried to kick it in the lane, didn't get it to go. And coming back, Duffesey gets it over to Mason. Mason is fouled as she goes up to the left side of the hoop, so she's going to head to the free throw line, I believe. Now a foul on Utah State, they're going to say. So it'll be a Southern Utah inbound from the baseline. So a lot of young, less experienced players on the court for the Aggies right now. Really interested to see how this turns out for them. Top of the arc. Here's Doman. Doman gets over right side. Peyton Torgerson kicks it out. Left wing. Shot goes up for 3, and it goes. That was Sanchez getting it for Southern Utah, picking up her first points of the game. Checked in, and 1 minute later knocks down a 3. Good start for Sanchez. Here's Emmy Harris at point guard for the Aggies. Harris gets it over left side for Bassett. Launches up from 3, doesn't go, but Deja Mason gets the rebound. Mason having a phenomenal start, as she didn't start in today's game for the first time this season, but she's done really well since checking in. Southern Utah fought the ball away from Deja Mason, and somehow looks like Aggies kept in possession, so they will have the ball at the baseline. Looks like Olivia West will have the inbound as the refs just get things sorted out. Utah State up 12-9, 3:05 to play. West goes into Duffesey. Bassett driving in, goes up with the right hook, doesn't get it to go, and foul called on the Aggies fighting for the rebound. So Bradford couldn't get the shot, but they're going to have the ball now. Sorry, Bassett. So here we come back. Southern Utah breaks the press, find what looked to be a wide open Carly Jones in the corner, but Bassett came flying in with the block. Fast getting back. Great job by Haley Bassett. Goes out of bounds, though, out on Utah State. Southern Utah will have the inbound. Inbound goes to Cardenas. Cardenas up top for Sanchez. Cardenas and Sanchez are actually cousins. And Sanchez finds her cousin, Cardenas, at the wing for a three-point shot, ties it up at 12. Southern Utah on a 6-0 run after a couple of threes, coming back the other way. Duffy tries to drive in. It's poked away by Cardenas as she tried to get in the lane. I'm sorry, I believe that was Sanchez. Sanchez driving, gets it out for Reed. Doesn't get it to go, but Southern Utah with the offensive rebound, and they get another three from the opposite side. This wing from Natalie Sanchez. That's Sanchez's 6th point of the game. And Southern Utah now out to their first lead, 15-12 for the Thunderbirds. So this new lineup not working as well as Utah State would have hoped. Eliza West kicks it back out to Brewster. Brewster out to Bassett. Bassett working her way in, top of the paint. Out to Brewster. Brewster knocks it down from just inside the three-point line. And Utah State bringing it back within one. Flying back the other direction, though, comes Cardenas. She's fouled as she tries to work her way up to the hoop. Foul going to go against Utah State. I believe that's on Victoria Price. And so she picks up her first. And Southern Utah is going to get a couple of shots coming up. Cardenas will be the shooter. Shot 69% from the free throw line last season. So it's pretty consistent shooter. And she knocks down the first. Cardenas last season against Utah State came in huge for the Thunderbirds. Had 12 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals in that game. So Utah State certainly remembers her. Second shot coming up as Southern Utah leads 16-14. It goes, make that 17-14. 1:40 to play in the first quarter. Eliza West at the point. Eliza West going one-on-one against Cardenas, kicks it out for Brewster. Brewster working up top of the paint. Out for Bassett. Bassett right side, she's going to shoot from 3, and it goes. Haley Bassett ties things up for Utah State at 17. But quickly in transition, Southern Utah not wasting any time. Skylie Doman gets under the hoop before any Aggie defenders can get back and puts Southern Utah back in the lead. Here's Brewster, a few feet above the free throw line, gets it to go. Brewster just having a phenomenal shooting night so far, but back the other way. Another three goes up. Natalie Sanchez, same spot as last time, knocks it down from 3. The Thunderbirds can't miss from beyond the arc, and they go up 22-19 with 52 seconds to play. Southern Utah, just a really nice shooting start from beyond the arc, or at least they start, well, they started out slowly, but really picking it up, hitting their last 3 straight. So it's just a quick timeout. We're already back at it. Price gives it up to West. Eliza West trying to drive in, loses control of the ball, and jump ball going to be called between West and Cardenas. Possession arrow pointing in Southern Utah's way, so it's going to go back to the Thunderbirds. Southern Utah with a 3-point lead. 40.9 remaining on the clock. Jesse Gear checking back in for the Aggies. No problem getting through the press. Cardenas just flies in, gets top of the paint, kicks it back out. Natalie Sanchez tries again from the same spot, but a little bit of a heat check as that airballs. Aggies with the rebound. Eliza West got it, tried to bring it back across half court, and it was poked away but out of bounds by Skylie Doman. So Aggies will still have possession. Aggies to inbound from almost exactly half court. Goes into the backcourt for Eliza West. 24-point something on the clock left. 22-19. Utah State trying to tie it up here before halftime, or before the end of the first quarter, I should say. Eliza West high, working her way up, gets to the top of the arc. Eliza West thinking about shooting, instead kicks it out for Gear. 5 on the clock. Gear, shot clock's going to expire. They're not going to get one off. She gets it over to Brewster, but looks like Utah State was looking at the game clock rather than the shot clock, and there was about a second's difference between the two. And so shot clock violation on Utah State, and that's going to end the quarter. Actually, it looks like there's still 0.3 seconds on the clock, so teams went to the huddle. They're going to have to come back out onto the court, though, for just one final, probably not even time to get a shot off. 0.3 seconds remaining. So Southern Utah likely just inbound, and then they'll head to the first quarter break. Utah State shooting a pretty solid 52.9% from the field on 9 of 17. It's just really turnovers and letting Southern Utah climb back into it that's doomed them. Looks like clock or officials just looking at the clock, making sure they have the right amount. They do. Long heave inbound is intercepted by Shannon Duffesey, so nothing happening there with 0.3 on the clock, and that's going to end the first quarter. Utah State trailing the Thunderbirds after one, score 22-19 here in Cedar City. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with the second quarter here on Aggie Radio. All right, welcome back. First quarter break as teams are in the huddle with Southern Utah leading the Aggies 22-19 down here in Cedar City. Aggies looking for some revenge from last season where they fell to Southern Utah 54-70 up in the Spectrum. Utah State has never lost in Cedar City, 3-0 all time down here. So trying to keep that streak alive as well as get a little bit of revenge from last season. Leading the way for Utah State, Shannon Duffesey with 6 points and 3 rebounds. She's had a couple of double-doubles already this season. Leading the way for Southern Utah is Natalie Sanchez, 9 points, all 3 of them coming on three-pointers. She's 3 of 4 from beyond the arc. Utah State in possession to start things out this quarter. Olivia West drives up the baseline, tries to kick it out for Eliza, but it's intercepted, stolen away by Southern Utah. Skelly Doman was there. Southern Utah jacks up another 3 this time. Brianna Reed, but doesn't get it to go. Southern Utah gets the rebound as Larson got it, but Larson puts it back up for another shot. Doesn't go. Aggies with the rebound. So Utah State takes over, down 22-19. Driving in, left side. Eliza West kicks it out for Duffesey. Duffesey knocks down the wide open baseline jumper and extends her total now 8 points for Duffesey. And Utah State brings it within 1. Back in transition. Foul called on the Aggies. That's going to go against Olivia West as she just got a little bit too aggressive as Southern Utah brought her across midcourt. Olivia West struggled a little bit with fouls this season. Fouled out in the first game, had 4 fouls in the game against Arizona, so big point of emphasis to keep her out of foul trouble, as we heard Coach Finkbeiner talk about before the game. Southern Utah kicks it in, finds Whitney Johnson on the block. Johnson goes up, and she's fouled on the way up. Shot doesn't go, but she'll head to the free throw line for a couple. That goes against Eliza West. That's her second. So Eliza West with a couple, Bassett with a couple. And first shot goes up from Johnson, and nothing but net. It's Johnson's 3rd point. The senior center out of Highland, Utah, Lone Peak High School, knocks down the second as well. Johnson transferred from University of New Mexico, so she's probably pretty familiar with Utah State. Played a couple of seasons down there in Albuquerque before transferring up to Southern Utah. Here's Gear out at the wing. Gear gets it up top for Duffy out to West. West to Olivia West in the corner. Dribbles it out. Back up top high is Eliza. Eliza out to Olivia for three from the wing. Doesn't get it to go. Rebound by Ashley Larson. Coming back the other way. So Olivia West came into this game 8 of 16 from beyond the three-point line, 50% on the season. And she's 0 of 2 tonight. Got a couple of good looks. Just didn't go. For Southern Utah, here's Bree Reed, gets it inside into the paint for Larson. Larson turns around, and the jumper is good from about 5 feet to put Southern Utah 26-21. Southern Utah playing some phenomenal basketball since the get-go. They started out a little bit slow, first 5 minutes of the game or so, but since then have been very solid. Here's Utah State. Jessie Gear just inside the three-point line, puts it up, doesn't get it to go. Rebound picked up once again, Ashley Larson. Larson gets her 4th of the game. And in transition, Southern Utah dumps it in. Whitney Johnson gets a couple more for Southern Utah. Johnson, that's her 6th point. And tried to get it to Olivia West in the corner, but Larson was there for the steal. Turnovers very costly for Utah State. Brianna Reed steps back beyond the three-point line, takes the jumper, doesn't get it to go. And Duffy fought for the rebound, but it goes out of bounds off of Duffy. So Southern Utah will stay in possession, now leading 28-21. Certainly not the position Utah State hoped or thought that they'd be in at this point. Thunderbird ball from the baseline. Emmy Harris checking in place of Haley Bassett. So Aggie's going a little bit smaller again. Tallest player out on the court is Duffy. The inbound over to the left side near the corner. Camps shoots from just inside the 3, doesn't get it to go. But Utah State gets the rebound. And as Utah State went up for it, Cardenas called for her 2nd foul of the game. Substitution for Southern Utah as Peyton Torgerson comes in place of Cardenas, who's just got herself in a little bit of foul trouble. Southern Utah just wants to avoid that. West brings it across the midcourt, gets it to Victoria Price, getting her first action of the season. Out left for Olivia West, dumps it in, and Duffy really warming up tonight, having a great shooting night, knocks down another from the baseline, about 13 feet out. Victoria Price playing very high defense up on Torgerson, who just checked in, almost pokes it away. Southern Utah retains it, though. And here's Reed driving in, steps back, pops it up from about 10 in the paint, gets it to go. Beautiful shot there by Reed. Aggies now trailing 30-23. Duffy shooting 5 of 6 tonight. I imagine they're going to keep trying to get it to her. Right wing, Harris gets back up to Price. Price out to the right side. Back up, Brewster shoots it from 3, and Brewster's 3 goes. Brewster kind of struggling from 3 this season, but knocks that one down. Coming into this game, Brewster was shooting just 2 of 9 from beyond the arc. The other way, Utah State gets a steal. Olivia West flying back in transition is fouled as she goes up for the lay-in and makes it. So she's going to have an and-one opportunity. Olivia West, the leading scorer for Utah State this season, averaging 19 points per game, had 32 in the season debut against UC Irvine. Didn't start a single game last year, but has emerged as one of the dominant scorers on this Utah State team. Knocks down the free throw to complete the three-point play, and Aggies back within 1, 30-29, 5:58 left on the clock here in the second quarter. Sanchez up at the wing, working up the left side, up to the baseline, finds a wide open Brianna Reed, who steps in and gets it from a couple of feet. Easy shot for Reed, and a lapse in the Aggie defense there for Southern Utah to hop back out by 3. Up to the right side, Victoria Price tries to drive in. She's tripped as she works her way into the lane. Foul called on Southern Utah. That's going to go against Southern Utah's Peyton Torgerson. So Aggie inbound coming from the baseline. Olivia West looks up to the right wing for Price. Price resets it out to Emmy Harris. Harris screen set by Brewster, and she's going to pop it up from the elbow. Doesn't get it to go. Southern Utah rebound. Coming back, here's Reed. Reed kicks it back out. Finds Camps, but it's stolen away from Camps. And then, as Brewster tried to bring it back the other way, it was stolen away by Southern Utah, who puts it back up for a point. So kind of a crazy sequence there. Aggies back in possession. Olivia West playing point right now. Olivia West screen set by Duffy. Duffy has it. Thought about shooting from the corner. Instead kicks it back out. Here's Price out to Brewster. Brewster tries another three. Foot might have been on the line, but doesn't matter because it doesn't go anyway. And Southern Utah with the rebound. Driving in Torgerson. Torgerson tries to kick it in. Utah State went for the steal, but got a little bit more than the ball. And so foul going to be called on Rachel Brewster. That's just Brewster's first. So no foul trouble there. Timeout is called on the court. I believe media timeout, as we are just under 5 minutes, 4:41 remaining here in the second quarter. Utah State with a 34-29 lead over Southern Utah. Utah State leading the way is Shannon Duffy, 10 points on 5 of 6 shooting. She really just can't miss, and 3 rebounds and assist in just 9 minutes of play. So excellent start for Shannon Duffy. Brewster has 7 as well. She's shooting 3 of 5, knocked down a 3 just a minute ago. And beyond that, Olivia West with 5. For Southern Utah, Bree Reed with 10 points on 4 of 8 shooting. She's also got a couple of assists and a rebound. And Natalie Sanchez with 9, all 9 coming from beyond the arc. Southern Utah really shooting a lot of threes so far tonight, 10 already. They are one of the better three-point shooting teams in the nation, 39% from 3. However, they've averaged just over 20 per game, so they're well ahead of what their average is right now, shooting 10 already with 5 minutes left in the first half. And so they rank 41st in the nation in three-point percentage with 39%. We'll see if they're able to keep that up, shooting 36% from beyond the arc tonight. So just slightly below the average. Where they've really struggled is in the field, shooting just 35% from inside the arc this season. And really a lot of that is just the lack of post play from Southern Utah. I mentioned that they've really had a hard time getting it into the lane. And tonight, though, looking a lot better. So the Southern Utah inbound is poked away by Brewster and back out of bounds. So they're going to have it again. This time from the sideline rather than the baseline. Reed will inbound it. Reed gets it in to Doman. Doman top of the key for Johnson. Back out to the top, resetting things. Sanchez up against Harris. Steps back from nearly 3, doesn't get it to go. Had 1 foot inside the 3, 1 foot out. Brewster with the rebound. Brewster finds Olivia West. Olivia West working in the right side. Puts up the hook, doesn't get it. Off the glass, Southern Utah grabs the rebound. Aggies have a 2-on-1 advantage, so Southern Utah slows it down a little bit. But Jones flying into the lane, puts it up, doesn't get it to go. Johnson had the rebound, kicked it out to the corner, and Southern Utah misses again. So Utah State giving up a lot of rebounds, but not paying for it there. Victoria Price flies up the right side, puts up the hook off the glass, doesn't go. And Southern Utah in transition, going to kick it out to the corner. Corner shot coming from just inside 3 from Reed, doesn't go. Back in transition, Price one-on-one, looking for her first points of the season. She's fouled as she tried to go up. Crowd and Southern Utah thought it was clean, but officials call it, so she'll head to the line for a couple. Victoria Price, what a great story. Missed all of last season due to injury. Started a majority of the games her her freshman season. So she's back now as a sophomore, and she knocks down her first points in over a year for Utah State with her first free throw going down. Price, the guard out of Grand Prairie, Texas, will likely have an enormous impact on this Utah State team. Missed the first 3 games just because she wasn't quite cleared medically to play. But looks like she's healthy and good to go now. Misses the second. So Utah State now trails 34-30. Southern Utah with the rebound. Cardenas slows things down, kicks it out right for Sanchez. Sanchez, beautiful dump inside to Jones, who lays it in with ease to put the Thunderbirds up by 6. Utah State hasn't scored a field goal in nearly 3 minutes now. Price tries to get it inside, but it's tipped away. Steal from Sanchez. Sanchez in transition, gets it over. Kiana Johnson left side, who lays it in, and Utah State's had enough. They're going to call a timeout. Utah State hasn't scored a field goal in quite a while now, nearly 3.5 minutes. So the Southern Utah defense really stepping things up and shutting down Utah State as of late, making life hard on them. Utah State started out looking very good. They got out to a 12-6 lead to start things out. And then just since then kind of went cold. I think that we've seen Coach Finkbeiner experiment with some different lineups and go a little bit deeper into the bench than we have seen so far this season. And hasn't really worked out super well for the Aggies, but at least a lot of players getting the playing time experience. And Utah State's still in it. I mean, only 38-30, plenty of time. 3 minutes left in the first half. Aggies shooting percentage, though, starting to dip. Started out super hot shooting, now down to 48%. Still not bad, but need to clean things up if they want to stay in it. So Eliza West at point, back in play. Eliza West looks out right for Brewster. Brewster dumps it in for Bassett. Left side, 3 put up by Olivia West. That's where she loves it, but doesn't go. Olivia West now 0 of 3 from beyond the arc today. Had been so phenomenal coming into this one. Southern Utah going to have a try. This time they're going to try from the corner 3 as well. They don't get it either. Skyly Doman missed, but there for the rebound was Carly Jones. Carly Jones tried to go back up, and it was blocked by Bassett, but out of bounds. Southern Utah making a couple of substitutions as they're going to send in Whitney Johnson as well as Megan Camps. Camps getting her first action of the night. I'm sorry, Camps did come in earlier for just a few minutes, played 2 minutes. So checking back in. Dumping it inside, working her way into the paint. That's Whitney Johnson who just checked in, but her shot doesn't go. And Duffesey grabs the rebound. Flying into the lane, Eliza West decides not to put it up. Probably should have, as it was stolen away by Cardenas as she looked for Bassett. Jump ball going to be forced. Looks like they're actually just going to give it to Southern Utah. And so Southern Utah takes it from the baseline now. Thunderbirds up 38-30. Looking for their first win of the season. Inbound for Rebecca Cardenas. Utah State laying off the press for now. Trying a little bit of a different defensive strategy, playing man defense now. And to the right side, Doman. Doman tries to get it in for Johnson, but it's stolen away by Bassett. Really tight window, had to make it through, and Bassett was there to step up. Bassett kicks it out right side for Brewster in the corner. Brewster's 3 goes. Rachel Brewster having a great shooting night. Now 2 of 4 from beyond the arc, and that is her 10th point of the night. Utah State now 38-33 trailing. Top of the arc is Camps. Camps hands it back to Cardenas. Cardenas out left, working her way in. Doman drives up the right side, doesn't get it to go, but there's a couple T-birds in the lane. They get the rebound, but it's fought away, and Utah State gets it to go out of bounds off of Southern Utah. They're going to have the inbound from the backcourt. Utah State trailing 38-33, 1:13 left in the first half. Here's Eliza West. Eliza West with 5 points, just 2 of 9 shooting though. Goes out right, finds Brewster. Brewster at the wing. Brewster dumps it in for Duffesey. Duffesey got back to Brewster, but it's stolen away by Southern Utah. Southern Utah flying back in transition, going to slow things down, get back up to the top of the paint, and as they tried to get it into Johnson, foul called on the Aggies. Looks like that's going to go against Shannon Duffesey. Luckily for the Aggies, that's just Duffesey's first. So Southern Utah with 48.6 will have the baseline inbound, leading 38-33. They're going to send in a substitute in Bree Reed, having a great game so far. She checks in and gets the inbound pass. Goes up to Johnson. Johnson, top of the arc. Johnson over to Torgerson. Torgerson working her way in. Goes back. Winnie Johnson drives in and gets it to go. Now Southern Utah out to a 40-33 lead, 26 on the clock. There's about 3 seconds between shot and game clock. So Utah State will likely just hold for the last shot, or essentially the last shot. Eliza West with it. Eliza West goes over to Brewster. Brewster back to West. West left side wing. Goes up to the top. Olivia West jacks up a long three. She's probably a good 7 or 8 feet from beyond the arc. Still had 5 seconds on the shot clock, but it goes. And Southern Utah tries to get one the other way unsuccessfully. So Utah State going to go to halftime trailing 40-36. I'm not sure exactly what Olivia West was thinking there. Maybe heard the crowd chanting the time, which was inaccurate, but she shoots it up from long ways, nearly, almost at the half-court logo. But it goes. So all is well that ends well. And for Olivia West, that's 8 points. We're going to hit the halftime break. Again, Southern Utah leading 40-36. So we're going to cut out here on Aggie Radio for just a few minutes, go to some music, and we'll be back soon with the second half here at Southern Utah University. All right, welcome back. Utah State women's basketball is Southern Utah versus Utah State, with the Thunderbirds out to a 40-36 lead down here in Cedar City. I'm Jaden Johnson. I'll have the call for every Utah State game this season, following the team everywhere they go. Utah State looking to even up their season record at 2-2. Before the game, Coach Finkbeiner talked about how important it is that you win at least half of your road games, and he said that, you know, they dropped one that they should have won at UC Irvine, or at least that they feel they should have won, and so getting one back here tonight against Southern Utah would be huge for the program. And we'll see if they're able to do that. I mean, they stayed relatively close throughout the entire first half. Actually came out to a lead. You know, the first 5 minutes it was all Utah State. Southern Utah, just impressive effort by the Thunderbirds to keep themselves in it. And now out to a 40-36 lead. If I'm Coach Finkbeiner at halftime, I have to imagine that the number one thing that he was out preaching to his team is turnovers, because Utah State has turned over the ball 13 times so far tonight to just 8 that they forced. And so that's going to cause a huge difference. I mean, they've given up 14 points off of turnovers. And you look at the scoreboard, it's a 4-point game. Obviously, you cut down a few of those and you're in the lead. The other thing, and this goes right along with turnovers, I mean, 10 of those came from Southern Utah steals. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Southern Utah is one of the best teams in the nation at stealing the ball. 11th in the nation with 14.3 steals per game. But when you let them steal it 10 times in one half, that's just unacceptable. And I'm sure Utah State going to really try to focus in on cleaning up the ball control here in the second half. Utah State, I mean, other than those two things, has been the better team for the most part. I mean, 50% field goal percentage. That's pretty solid. 15 of 30 from the field. 4 of 11 from beyond the three-point line. To just Southern Utah's 38, 15 of 39 from the field. So they've made the same amount of shots. Southern Utah's taken 9 more, though, and part of that comes from the rebounds. You look at the rebounding numbers, and Southern Utah's 22 to Utah State's 17. That makes me think that there's probably a good possibility we're going to see more of Deja Mason here in the second half. Utah State didn't start with her for the first time this season, probably thinking that Southern Utah's been a little bit of a softer inside team. They've been severely out-rebounded, out-blocked, outplayed in the paint this season, and it's kind of come back to bite the Aggies, as right now Southern Utah walking all over the Aggies in the paint. So we'll see what kind of halftime adjustments they make. Coach Finkbeiner has been really good this season with halftime adjustments. And so we'll see how that turns out for Utah State. Leading the way for the Aggies right now, Shannon Duffy with 14 points and 4 rebounds, leads in both of those categories. Duffy looking for her 3rd double-double of the season. She picked up a double-double in the first 2 games and came pretty darn near it in the last one. And then with assists, it's Eliza West with 3. Leading Southern Utah, Natalie Sanchez with 12 points, all 12 coming from beyond the arc on 4 of 6 3-point shooting. So I'm sure that they're going to really try to lock down on that. And in rebounding, Larson with 4 and Cardenas with 4 assists. Utah State hasn't led in quite a while, really since the 6-minute mark, or I'm sorry, the 4-minute mark in the first quarter. Since then, it's been all Southern Utah, but the Aggies made a nice little push at the end of the first half to bring it back within 4, and we're just about to get back underway in the second half. Southern Utah, an interesting team because, and this seems to be a theme for teams that Utah State's playing this season, they only bring back 5 players that played any time last season for the Thunderbirds. And so a relatively young, new team, but a lot of talented recruits. It's definitely a program that's treading in the right direction. 3rd-year head coach Chris Bodicher getting Southern Utah working the right way. But Utah State, though, there's really no excuse to lose to a team that is so young, so inexperienced, and performed so poorly last season. Not saying that the Aggies are going to lose. I'm just saying that there's really no excuse if they do, because Utah State, while they're young, they're the 2nd youngest team in the nation, brings back every starter from last year, plus Victoria Price, a starter from 2 years ago. And very, very experienced despite being so young. So we'll see if that experience shows I imagine for Utah State, things are really going to get clicking by the time conference play starts up, but it's going to make life tough on them if they drop some of these games early in the season. Even though they're non-conference, if they drop some of these games to teams that they feel like they should and could beat. So Southern Utah starts with the inbound. They're going to have the ball first in the second half, leading 40-36. Interesting stat about Southern Utah. Last season, they went just 2-11 at home. So performed really poorly at home last season and picked up 5 of 11 on the road. So another reason Utah State should be the dominant team here. But Southern Utah starts, gets a shot from just inside the three-point line from Ashley Larson. Doesn't go. They get their own rebound, as we've seen so many times. First shot didn't hit the shot clock, so they get another shot right before it expires, but that's an air ball, so Utah State grabs the rebound. Liza West has it at the point. Liza West goes over to Olivia West. Aggies starting with the same lineup in the second half as we saw in the first. Olivia West tries to work in. It's poked away, but Gear's there to save it. Liza kicks out left corner, and Duffusy launches a three. Air ball on the three-pointer. Duffusy was shooting 5 of 6 before that from the field. Make that 5 of 7, though. Coming back the other way, Southern Utah jacks up a three from the left wing. Doesn't go, and Brewster's there for the rebound. Coming back in transitions, Aggies have 2-on-1. Olivia West works up to the right side and puts it up on the reverse to bring Utah State within 2. So Utah State trying to tie things up for the first time since the 4-minute mark of the first quarter when Southern Utah took over, 2 points away from doing so. Here's Southern Utah coming up the right side, puts up a baseline jumper from Cardenas, and she gets it to go. Cardenas, just her 4th point of the night. So she's now 1 of 2. Sorry, yeah, 1 of 2 with a couple of free throws. That's her first field goal. Southern Utah inbounds to Cardenas. Cardenas going to try it again from near the corner from beyond the arc. Doesn't get it to go. Grabs her own rebound. Puts it up just a step forward and doesn't get that one to go either. And fighting for the rebound with Gear. Southern Utah going to be called on a foul. I believe that's going to go against Peyton Torgerson of the Thunderbirds. So Utah State now possession down 4. Gear at the wing. Gear screen set by Duffusy, doesn't use it. Instead steps up, takes it from the free throw line, doesn't go. Aggies grab the rebound, though. Olivia West, one of the shortest players on the team, steps in, gets the offensive rebound, and is fouled as she goes back up. So really a lack of fight inside the paint for Utah State, and Olivia West just going to take it upon herself. So a couple coming up for Olivia. Knocks down her first. She's Utah State's leading scorer this season, something that I don't think a lot of people saw coming, as she didn't even start a single game last season, but she's got 11 on the night, averaging 19 per game on the season. Second shot doesn't go, but rebound by Shannon Duffusy. It's stolen away, but there was a lot of contact there. No call by the officials. Southern Utah coming back the other way, and Cardenas walks as she tries to get in the lane. Travel called. Aggie ball on that turnover. It's the 10th turnover of the night for Southern Utah. Brewster at the elbow gets it to Liza West. Liza West driving up the left side, doesn't get her to go. But Brewster's there for the rebound. Utah State playing very well on the rebounds, but Brewster's shot doesn't go back up. Seems like that was a big emphasis at halftime, because Utah State has been the far more dominant team off the glass here 3 minutes into the second half. Driving up the lane. Brianna Reed tries to put it high off the glass. Doesn't go, but they grab their offensive rebound. And Larson puts it back up. That doesn't go either. Southern Utah really struggling to shoot here in the second half. Brewster jacks one up from 3, and it goes. Rachel Brewster, I mentioned it earlier, she really struggled so far this season from beyond the three-point line, 2 of 9. But tonight she's knocked down 3 from beyond the arc of 5 attempts. Back the other way, Southern Utah gets a couple of points. Utah State now trailing by 2, 44-42. So that tie was the first time it's been tied for quite a while now. Olivia West drives into the lane trying to get a couple more, and she's fouled. So she's going to head to the line with the possibility of tying it up with a couple of shots. Olivia West, again, I mean, just enough can't be said about her. Last season, she only played 15 minutes a game, 5 points a game, and now she's just dominant on offense. Looking for, as she makes the first, now her 12th point of the night, averaging 19 a game this season. And I mentioned the 32-point outing against UC Irvine in her first ever start. Just been the spark that Utah State needs on offense this season. One more coming up for the sophomore. West's second shot goes, and we have a tie game, 44, all at 6:33 remaining here in the third quarter. Southern Utah with Sanchez at the point. Sanchez goes out right, driving in. Kiana Johnson tried to get in, and jump ball forced by Utah State. Heads up defensive play, and the possession arrow goes in Utah State's favor. A couple of family connections on this Southern Utah team as Cardenas and Sanchez are cousins, and Kiana and Whitney Johnson are sisters. So kind of a fun connection there. A lot of family members on this Southern Utah squad. So Utah State, Duffy Jackson shoots from the free throw line, doesn't go, but Brewster's there for the rebound. Aggie's playing tough on the offensive rebound. Harris kicks it out left. Olivia West from 3 at the wing, gets it to go. Olivia West tacks on a few more to her total. 16 now for the sophomore. Back in transition, Southern Utah comes quick though, dumps it into Carly Jones on the baseline, who puts it up with the right hand, and that's good. So Utah State with their first lead since the first quarter, 47-46. Here's Brewster, top of the arc. Brewster goes out right for Harris. Harris, the freshman, working up against Kiana Johnson. Harris way up high, goes back to Brewster, right side. Brewster tries to get it in, poor pass as she tried to get it to Bassett, and that's stolen away by Southern Utah. Yet another Thunderbird steal. Aggies try to steal it back in transition, but it's poked out of bounds. So better than the layup that could have happened, but Southern Utah will get it from under the hoop. 12 Southern Utah steals. Really just a ridiculous number. So Southern Utah inbounds. Free throw line. Jones works up, gets to the right side, in and out. Shot doesn't go. Olivia West with the rebound. Olivia West gonna just take it coast to coast, drive to the hoop, doesn't go, but Bassett's there. Bassett with the rebound, went up a lot of contact, doesn't get that, gets a rebound again, and now Utah State with another rebound. Duffy is fouled as she hits the floor, so Utah State had about 4 offensive rebounds in a row there. Didn't get a single point out of it, but as Duffy was fouled, Utah State will have the ball. There's a media timeout as we're just under 5 minutes. So when Utah State comes out of the timeout, they'll have the inbound. Aggies with a 47-46 lead. And if nothing else, it's been a fun game. Utah State has to feel like they have to feel like they're the better team in this. They have to feel like they're going to win this. As you look at everything on paper, you look at how the season has started, you look at last season, Utah State should be the team that is the aggressor here tonight. But Southern Utah, just an incredible effort from the Thunderbirds. And they've kept it tight. Been a good back and forth. And I get the feeling we're going to have a nice finish here in Southern Utah. So Utah State, just this half, shooting 3 of 11 from the field. So pretty poor shooting numbers from the Aggies. The upside, though, is that they're grabbing a lot of their own rebounds, getting those second chance opportunities, and that's been incredibly helpful for them. So despite the poor shooting percentage in this half, still out to a lead. Southern Utah has only taken 8 shots to Utah State's 11. They're shooting 3 of 8 this half. And Utah State, I mean, it's just been all about Olivia West. She's fantastic. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and that all in just 14 minutes. So on the court now is Utah State just about to start things off. Again, we have Olivia West. We've got Bassett, Brewster, Duffy, and Harris. Inbound goes straight to Duffy, and she pops one up. She loves that baseline jumper, and it goes to extend Utah State's lead to 3. Flying back the other way, though, Skyly Doman works her way up the baseline and is fouled on the way up. So she's going to go to the free throw line for a couple. Very high-paced game. The foul goes on Olivia West. That's just her second. She has had foul trouble this season, but doing a good job tonight to stay out of it. So a couple shots coming up for Doman. Doman's first shot is good. Sophomore guard out of Canby, Oregon. She played in all 30 games as a freshman, and she was second on the team in assists and steals as a freshman. Second shot doesn't go, and Duffy grabs the rebound. Duffy, that's her 9th rebound of the night, so looking for another double-double, just a rebound away from it. Likely get that. Out to the wing, Emmy Harris jacks one up from 3, doesn't go. Bassett's fighting for the rebound, but can't ring it in before it goes out of bounds. So Southern Utah will get it. Utah State, a very high-paced team, and this is a high-scoring one. Utah State, on average this season, 75 points per game, and already at 49. So foul called on Utah State. Whitney Johnson got it to the baseline, tried to go up, and was fouled. I believe that foul goes on Brewster. A couple of shots coming up for Whitney Johnson. Johnson's first goes, bringing Southern Utah now just trailing by 1. Whitney Johnson transferred from New Mexico, played her high school ball here at Lone Peak High School. So she's very familiar with Utah State, being from in the state and playing in the Mountain West Conference for a couple of years, her first 2 years of her career. Second shot doesn't go, and Aggies get the rebound. So Utah State still with a 1-point lead, 49-48, 3:58 to go in the third quarter. At the left side, here's Brewster. Brewster at the wing, steps inside the three-point line, shoots it, doesn't go. Rebound by Natalie Sanchez coming back the other way. In transition, Whitney Johnson tried to go up. She's fouled again, so she was just at the line a second ago, and she's going to go back for a couple more. Made 1 of 2 just a moment ago. That foul goes on Brewster. Brewster now with two personal fouls. Johnson's first goes. Very good post player for Southern Utah. 6'2" senior. She played 24 games last season, started 20 of them, and brought in 8.3 points per game and 5.8 rebounds per game. Aggie's going to make a sub as in comes Eliza West for Emmy Harris, freshman checking out, and Mountain West Freshman of the Year checking in. Second shot for Whitney Johnson. Up. Doesn't go, so exact same thing as we saw last time. Ties things up at 49. Southern Utah now going with the full court press. Haven't seen much of this from them. And they get the steal with it at midcourt. Natalie Sanchez came charging in, dumped it off to Reed, and Reed got an easy couple for Southern Utah. They're going to stick with the full court press again. Just about get another steal off of Brewster, but foul going to be called on Skyly Doman. Just got a little too close in on it in the backcourt. And that puts New Mexico, I'm sorry, I'm thinking New Mexico because of Whitney Johnson. That puts Southern Utah in the bonus. Aggie's going to head to the free throw line. This will be Rachel Brewster. Brewster shot 69% from the free throw line last season. Was the best free throw shooter for the Aggies. She knocks down her first. Utah State now trailing by 1, tie it up with this second shot. Bassett going to check out in place of Deja Mason. Imagine we'd see a bit more of Mason this half, but this is her first action of the half. Second shot goes. So Brewster now 15 points and having by far her best game of the season. So tie ball game, but Southern Utah comes back quick, high pace. Whitney Johnson just doing it all for Southern Utah right now, and she gets the shot to go up by a couple. Here comes Brewster. Brewster jumper from 15 feet in the wing doesn't go, but Duffy fights, gets a rebound, and smart play by Whitney Johnson to force a jump ball. Possession arrow goes towards New Mexico. Shannon Duffy, already a double-double tonight, 11 rebounds and 12 points for the sophomore. Cardenas at the point. Cardenas goes out right for Doman. Doman dumps it in. Finds a player in the lane, Whitney Johnson, but Whitney Johnson's shot won't go. Rebound goes off of Eliza West and back out of bounds. So while that's not a offensive rebound for Southern Utah, they will keep possession, and that's the kind of thing that's been really hurting Utah State. Inbound goes to Reed. Reed just works right up into the paint easily, puts up the right-hander, and puts Southern Utah back up by 4. Aggies cross half court. Again, full court pressure by Southern Utah. Utah State starting to figure it out. Here's Brewster, goes out left. Olivia West thought about shooting the 3, instead kicks out right for Eliza West, who shoots it from 3, doesn't go. Eliza West, not one that takes many threes. New Mexico with the rebound. They're going to slow things down just a little bit. Top left side. Sanchez driving into the left, gets it into Johnson. Johnson with the lefty, and Johnson is dominating right now inside the paint. Just walking all over Deja Mason. Back the other way, quick shot goes up by Brewster, who quiets down the crowd, brings it back within 4 from about 15 feet. Fast pace of play, each team not wasting any time. Here's Cardenas. Cardenas out to the right. It's for Doman. Doman back up top. Another 3 going up. That's Natalie Sanchez, was a couple feet behind the line, and that doesn't go. Duffy adds another to her rebounding total, and flying back the other way is Olivia West up to the left side, bringing the Aggies back within 2 and making her total of 18 points. Olivia West having just a night to remember. Seems like every game this season. So first time we've really seen Southern Utah slow things down in a while. Brianna Reed just takes her time and then eventually drives, is fouled on the way in. Foul going to go against Lindsey Jensen. No, I'm sorry, that's not. Looks like the official signaled 11, but looks like it's actually on 22, Rachel Brewster. So that's Brewster's 3rd foul. And hitting the line is Brianna Reed. Reed's first shot goes. Southern Utah now up 58-55. Brianna Reed with 15 points for Southern Utah, as well as a couple of assists. The junior guard out of Oklahoma City. Got one more coming up. And that one goes as well. So Southern Utah, a 59-55 lead, 1:08 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Aggies with the ball. Southern Utah full court press. Almost corners Olivia West, but she wisely gets it out. So Aggies have to cross half court. They do. Olivia West just going to drive right side, gets fouled as she tries to take it to the rim. And that's really what Olivia West is so good at. For being so short, you know, smaller player on the team, 5'6", she's so good at driving into the rim and drawing that kind of contact. And when she doesn't draw contact, it'll go. So she'll have a couple of free throws. First one in and out. Lead remains 59-55 for Southern Utah. Olivia West looking for her 19th point of the night. Averages 19 this season, so she can match that here already in the 3rd quarter if she hits this. And she does. So now 59-56, 54 seconds on the shot on the clock. And Cardenas goes out right, finds Sanchez. Sanchez up to the top. Torgerson thought about shooting and said she's going to step in, take it from the elbow, and that goes. Beautiful shot by Torgerson. That's just her first points of the night. Here's Brewster. Brewster kicks it out left. Baseline jumper. Duffy again, but this time it doesn't go. Same spot. Dumps it in for Mason. Mason fouled. So offensive foul on Utah State. And Southern Utah going to take over, going to have the last opportunity for points. Here in the 3rd quarter, leading 61-56, 25.7 on the clock. So we'll have the inbound here in just a moment. A couple of Thunderbirds in foul trouble. Cardenas and Torgerson each 3 apiece. So a couple of the Southern Utah guards, that's something to watch for. 2 left for them. Southern Utah inbounds. 22 seconds on the clock, winding down. Certainly they'll hold for the last shot. High pressure coming. Double team by Olivia West, and Shannon Duffy forces Rebecca Cardenas to call the timeout. Wisely so. So teams will head to the huddle with 14.4 left on the clock and a 5-point Southern Utah lead. Aggies came out, had a really good start to this half, closed things up, got the lead for just a few minutes, and since have kind of reverted back to their ways of the first half, and Southern Utah jumps it back out to a 5-point lead. You just have to feel if you're Utah State, you're this close to, you know, having a pretty sizable lead. It's just the turnovers that have killed them. Utah State with 18 turnovers. I'm sorry, 19 turnovers make that. To just 10 from Southern Utah. So, you know, you're -9 in the turnover margin. 14 of those have come from steals. You just got to take care of the ball. Of course, it's easier said than done, especially with such an aggressive, swarming defense like the Thunderbirds have. But, you know, that's really inexcusable. Give up 14 steals in a game, and we still have got a quarter left. And, you know, I have to imagine that's similar to what Coach Finkbeiner is telling his team right now in the huddle as they get ready to finish out the quarter. But that's truly been the differentiator. I mean, we're exactly tied in field goal percentage, 43% apiece. 3-point field goal percentage, Utah State's actually up 38-27 in that category. It's been the rebounding, which has really tightened up since halftime, and Utah State actually now has the rebounding advantage, 34-29. So they've stepped their game up there. They've made that change, made that adjustment, pounded the paint. Just got to take care of the ball. So Southern Utah getting inbound from near midcourt, 14.4 left on the clock, and a 5-point lead. Southern Utah inbounds. Up top, Carly Jones. Jones goes back to Torgerson. Torgerson up the left side, kicks it back out. Reed going to drive into the paint. Reed dumps it in. And foul called on the Aggies. Really the one thing you can't do. And Southern Utah going to head to the free throw line with just 3.8 left on the clock. Carly Jones, the freshman center out of Forney, Texas, knocks down her first. 4 points on the night for Jones, 5 after that. One more coming. Utah State, if they get the rebound or the shot goes in, as it misses, they got 3 seconds left to get a shot off. Here's Duffy. Duffy not even going to take it. And that's how the third quarter will end here in Cedar City. Southern Utah, the home team, out to a 6-point lead, 62-56 with 1 quarter to play. Teams heading back into the huddle. We're going to take a quick break and come back at it here on Aggie Radio with the fourth quarter. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. 1 quarter to play here in Cedar City. Southern Utah out to a 62-56 lead over Utah State. So Utah State a little bit of work to do here with 10 minutes to play. And leading the way for Aggies, Olivia West, the team's leading scorer this season with 19. Duffy with 14 rebounds. Phenomenal effort by Duffy. Add that on to 12 points as well, so she's already got her double-double. And Eliza West with 4 assists. Aggies inbound. Starting off the fourth quarter. Eliza West has it, top of the arc. Goes over to Brewster. Brewster dumps it in for Mason. Mason back up, top. Eliza West out to Brewster. Brewster for 3, and it does not go. Started out really well from beyond the arc today, but that one doesn't fall. Southern Utah coming back the other way. Just Doman. Doman goes back out top for Brianna Reed. Reed working out to the right side of the arc. Crossover on West. Dumps it in baseline. Johnson. Johnson back out and pushing her way in as Reed. Shot doesn't go. Duffy picks up her 15th rebound. And back the other way. West tried to get it to Duffy as she was running into the lane, but miscommunication. Thunderbirds take over, and driving the other way, Reed gets it to go. So Southern Utah now an 8-point lead. West out to Brewster. We'll see how this Utah State team reacts to a bit of adversity. Brewster, top of the arc. Goes back to West, West to West. There's Deja Mason. Deja Mason working her way and looking for her points, first points of the game, and gets it from the left side. Deja Mason, that was her first shot of the game. First time this season she hasn't started for Utah State, has really only played a handful of minutes, and just picks up her first points of the night. Now Utah State trails 64-58, 8:13 to go in the fourth quarter. Top of the arc is Torgerson. Torgerson gets to the free throw line, dumps out to the corner, gets inside to Johnson. Johnson's shot, I believe, blocked. Mason was there on the defense. And Utah State comes with a big defensive play, gets the rebound. Olivia West decides to slow things down, get it into Mason. Mason looking for her second, and she gets this one. Strong move by Deja Mason. And she gets her second straight bucket to bring Utah State within 4. Near midcourt, Cardenas playing way up high. Pressure on from Olivia West. Breaks past it. Gets it to Johnson, top of the key. Johnson gets it to Doman, but Doman fumbled the ball. Luckily for her, able to pick it back up. 4 seconds on the shot clock as Reed plows into the lane. Shoots it from the right side, doesn't go. But Southern Utah with the rebound. Doman picked it up. Another offensive rebound for the Thunderbirds as they reset things out to Cardenas. Cardenas, the sophomore out of El Paso, having a good night, good season. Passes it out. Torgerson shoots a 3, doesn't go, and Duffy fighting for the rebound, but Southern Utah doesn't let her get it easily. Instead, Doman takes it away and goes for the shot, and she's fouled by Duffy, who was laying on the ground. So Duffy picks up her third, and Southern Utah is going to get a couple of shots out of it. Carly Jones checking in place of Whitney Johnson. So a little bit of relief there for Utah State as Johnson's just been walking all over them. And Kiana Johnson going to check in as well. So they get the inbound, and a quick shot goes up by Jones from the baseline, but doesn't go. Brewster with the rebound. Brewster playing the point, goes to Eliza West. Eliza West top of the arc. Goes out left for Olivia West. Screen set by Duffy. She works off it to dump it inside for Mason. Mason fouled as she goes up. Deja Mason having a really big impact here in the fourth quarter. Again, didn't get the start for the first time this season as Utah State elected to go with a little bit of a smaller lineup. But she's had the last 3 shots for Utah State. And she's going to head to the free throw line for a couple, looking for her 5th and 6th points potentially. Mason's first shot doesn't go, though. Utah State trailing 64-60. Junior center out of San Antonio, Texas on the line. So Whitney Johnson checking back in. She only sat for about 20 seconds as Brianna Reed goes out. Second shot by Mason goes in. Aggies bring it within 3. 6:24 on the clock. Southern Utah ball, and Eliza West jumps up looking for the steal. Can't quite wrangle it in before it goes out of bounds, but nice aggressive play by Eliza. And Southern Utah love the inbound. Doman goes up top for Cardenas. Cardenas up against Olivia West. Screen set by Johnson. Johnson gets it on the pick and roll and goes for the shot, but doesn't get it, gets her own rebound. Aggies fight, but Southern Utah still has possession. Cardenas has it. Cardenas working out the right side. Kicks it to the right corner. Three goes up. Doesn't fall from Skyly Doman. And another rebound by Shannon Duffy. 17th rebound of the night. What a performance by Shannon Duffy. Olivia West gets it to Duffy at the free throw line. And she is fouled, or foul off the ball, it looks like. They're going to call. It's going to go against Whitney Johnson. So for Whitney Johnson, that's just her second foul. And Utah State will get the inbound from the baseline. Aggies trailing 64-61, 5:40 to go. Brewster to inbound. Brewster finds Eliza West near the corner. Eliza West works her way back out to the top. Back out to the corner for Brewster for three. Doesn't go. Brewster 3 of 6 from beyond the arc now. And Southern Utah with the rebound. They're going to slow things down. Played a really high up-tempo offense for much of this game, but the fourth quarter we've seen them slow it quite a bit. Reed with the ball. Reed working against Brewster, and they're going to call the foul on Brewster, and she just stepped in a little too tight. So Southern Utah inbound. Shot clock resets, 5:14 on the game clock, and a three-point T-Bird lead. Inbound to Reed. Reed's screen set up high by Larson, and she passes to Larson off the screen. Larson's shot doesn't go, but rebounded by Johnson, who puts it up. That doesn't go either, and Deja Mason fights for the rebound. As Mason is going for the rebound, Larson fouls her, and so Utah State will get the inbound. Southern Utah bench doesn't like it. Thought she had a jump ball, but the official says it was a foul. Aggies bring it across midcourt. Looks like I believe we had a game clock issue because it didn't start. It looks like actually they're just going to say Utah State called a timeout. So team's going to head to the huddle. 4:59 remaining. 64-61 Southern Utah lead. We'll take a quick break, and we're going to come back with the remainder of the fourth quarter. Should be an exciting finish. 3-point game here in Cedar City. All right, welcome back. 4:59 to play in the fourth quarter. Utah State trailing by 3 against Southern Utah. 64-61 is the score. Thanks for tuning into the game here on Aggie Radio, 92.3 KBLU LP Logan, Utah, as well as AggieRadio.com. Aggies have the ball. Inbounded from midcourt. Olivia West up high, double teamed, and ball poked away. She's able to hold on to it and force the jump ball, but unfortunately for Utah State, jump ball goes towards Southern Utah. So good defensive pressure by Southern Utah. For Utah State, Shannon Duffy has 18 rebounds. Her previous career high, 12. So having a phenomenal night, and I imagine she's just going to add on to that. Southern Utah with possession, dumps it in for Johnson. Johnson in the post, tries to go up. She's fouled by Mason on the way up. Foul called, and so she's going to head to the free throw line. Whitney Johnson really making things hard on Utah State. 16 points tonight, 7 rebounds for the senior. First shot goes, so I'll make that 17 points now. Whitney Johnson, the New Mexico transfer. She's the top returning rebounder and scorer off of last year's squad. The top 2 rebounders and scorers left for graduation. So Johnson really the leader of this team this year, and she knows it. She makes her second free throw to put Southern Utah up 66-61, 4:30 to go. Crunch time here for the Aggies. Olivia West up high, goes out for Victoria Price. Victoria Price got her first action of the season tonight. Price near the wing, goes back to Eliza West. Free throw line, Duffusy tries to get it back out for Price, and it's kind of poked away, but foul called on Southern Utah. They got a little too tight in there. Foul's going to go against Cardenas. It's Cardenas' 3rd foul. Make that her, I believe that's actually her 4th. Southern Utah hasn't scored a field goal in 5.5 minutes. Utah State, though, hasn't scored a point in 2.5. And Southern Utah 0 of 9 on their last 9 field goal attempts. And Utah State's still trailing by 5, so need to take advantage of that if you're the Aggies. Eliza West tries to drive in, kicks it back out to Olivia. Olivia tries to drive in. It's poked away, out of bounds off the baseline, off of Southern Utah. So Utah State inbound from the baseline coming. 4:02 remaining, 66-61. Olivia West finds Duffusy at the baseline, and Duffusy turns it over. Another, I believe that's going to be credited as a steal on Brianna Reed, who poked it away and out of bounds. Just incredible what Southern Utah is doing on defense. 17 steals. So Whitney Johnson has it at the baseline, resets things out to Cardenas. Cardenas to Reed. Reed top working her way in. Shot doesn't go, but Johnson gets the rebound. Tries to go back up, and excellent defense by Deja Mason forces it out of bounds and off of Southern Utah. Aggies will get the inbound. Goes to Eliza West. 3:38 remaining. Aggies down by 5. Eliza West crosses midcourt. Defended by Reed. Sorry, defended by Sanchez. Goes to Brewster. Brewster dumps it in, looking for Duffusy. Duffusy gets it stolen away, though. Fast work by Cardenas. And that's the 18th steal of the night for Southern Utah. Aggies with just 5, 18 for Southern Utah. Southern Utah hasn't scored a field goal in nearly 6.5 minutes, and yet they're still up by 5. Utah State just hasn't been able to take advantage of it. So here's Cardenas dumping it in, finds an open Whitney Johnson, but steps up as Deja Mason. Good job on defense. Goes back out and back into Johnson. Johnson's shot doesn't go, gets her own rebound. Tries to go back up again, and Mason fouls this time. So Johnson going to go to the free throw line yet again. Johnson's already shot 8 free throws on the night, making 6 of them, and she's got a couple more coming. Utah State just getting dominated in the post, and Whitney Johnson a huge part of that. Her first shot is good as Southern Utah goes up now 67-61. Mason checks out, and Bassett comes in. Second shot from Johnson, also good. 7-point lead from the Thunderbirds. 2:47 to play. Crunch time as Eliza West has it up high. Screen set by Bassett, doesn't use it, instead works her way, kicks out to the corner, and Brewster knocks down a corner 3 for Utah State, bringing it back within 4, 68-64. Rachel Brewster, her 20th point of the night, leading the way for Utah State, 7 of 14 and 4 of 7 from beyond the arc. Phenomenal effort by the junior leader of this team. And charge called on Southern Utah as Rebecca Cardenas couldn't get past Olivia West. It looks like they're actually going to call that on West. Said her feet weren't planted, so Southern Utah will get it. That's Olivia West's 4th, and that is going to send Southern Utah to the line. A couple shots coming up, and Cardenas knocks down the first, extending the lead back up to 5, 69-64. Nice shooting from the line for Southern Utah, 17 of 21 tonight. Second shot, also good. So Aggies trail 6, 2:17 left on the clock. Comes Eliza West, poked away by Doman, but out of bounds. Utah State with the inbound. 2:11 on the clock. Eliza West to inbound. Goes to Bassett. Bassett back out. Brewster. Brewster up to the top of the arc. Kicks it back into Bassett. Bassett right side, working way up the baseline. Spins around, puts up the shot. Wild shot, a lot of pressure. Doesn't go. Rebound picked up by New Mexico. New Mexico obviously going to try and melt off a little bit of clock here. 1:48 to play, 6-point lead. Sorry, Southern Utah. Cardenas goes out right for Doman. Doman back up top. Here's Larson. Larson to Reed. Reed shoots from just inside the arc. Shot doesn't go, and Duffusy picks up her 19th rebound of the match. Coming back the other way, Olivia West flies into the lane and gets the shot to go and is fouled. She's going to have a free throw upcoming. Huge play by Olivia West. Bringing the Aggies now within 4, and with a free throw on the and one opportunity can bring it within 3. 70-66 with 1:23 to play. Big time play there by Olivia West. Olivia West, 21 points tonight. 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Big free throw. Sophomore knocks it down, bringing Utah State within 3. Timeout is called. 3-point game. Utah State has trailed for much of it. But I mean, they've trailed for 27 minutes. But a lot of that time, it's been really close. And here we are with just a minute and a half to go and a 3-point game. Exciting finish, I'm sure. Southern Utah has just gone absolutely ice cold. Haven't scored a field goal in 8 minutes and 10 seconds, and they are 0 of their last 13 shots. And so that's really helped Utah State climb back in it. But at the same time, with that kind of a stretch, Utah State should be up 5 or 10 points. You know, that's something that they just haven't taken advantage of. Aggies lead the rebound battle 43-38. And they lead the field goal percentage battle 45-35. It's just the turnovers. That's the #1 killer against Utah State tonight, as they have 24 turnovers to Southern Utah's 10. So minus 14 in that margin. Southern Utah has the ball inbounded. Playing up high is Cardenas. Very little pressure from Utah State. Going to let her slow things down. Cardenas near midcourt. 1:03 remaining. Goes out right. Finds Reed outside the arc. Reed steps in, shoots from the baseline. That doesn't go, but rebound grabbed by Ashley Larson and then out of bounds. So make that 0 for the last 14 field goals by Southern Utah, and Aggie's going to have the inbound. Utah State trailing by 3, 56 remaining. 56 seconds remaining. I believe they're going to take a look at that last play, actually, just to make sure that they called it right. What happened is shot went up by Southern Utah. Reed took the jumper from the baseline, and a couple of players fought for the rebound. They're going to say that the initial call is that, of course, that it went off of Southern Utah, off of Ashley Larson, who grabbed the rebound. But officials going to take a look at it, make sure they got it right. Probably smart with being such a crucial possession here. 50 seconds remaining in a 3-point game. Give the teams a chance to huddle up. I'm sure Coach Finkbeiner drawing up his next play with wishful thinking that they are going to retain possession of the ball. Utah State has a couple players with 20-plus points, but it's kind of been a lopsided distribution because you have Olivia West with 22 points. You have Rachel Brewster with 20. You have Shannon Duffsey with 12. And then beyond that, I mean, your next leading scorer is Deja Mason, who only played 12 minutes and has 5 points. So it's really been those three carrying Utah State on their shoulders and taking the vast, vast majority of the shots as well. Bassett kind of struggling. She's taken 7 shots, only made 1 for 3 points. And Utah State, a couple players in foul trouble with West, Olivia West, I should say, and Rachel Brewster, each with 4. Not that that will likely matter, just a minute left on the clock unless we are looking at an overtime situation, which is possible as well. So officials come back out to the court. Looks like they've made their decision. It's going to stay Utah State ball, so huge sigh of relief coming from the Aggie bench. They got it right the first time, and it will stay in Utah State possession. Can't say how big this next possession is, though. Trailing by 3, 56.3 left on the clock, and you've got possession of the ball. Have to get some points out of this one. Inbounding is Duffy, gets it into Olivia West. Olivia West trying to get it across midcourt, but pressure. She gets it over the timeline. Gets the screen set by Brewster, kicks it out for Eliza West. Eliza West to Duffy, back to West. She's going to drive in left side, and it's blocked. Huge block by Ashley Larson. Clean as West went up for the land. So Southern Utah with possession, 29 on the clock. There's about 7 seconds between shot and game clock, and they've got the ball up 3. Utah State elects not to foul. Timeout called by the Thunderbirds, and the crowd is loving it. Big, big play by Ashley Larson, who came up with that block for Southern Utah. Could have saved the game there, as really it looked to be a pretty easy lay-in by Olivia West. I'm sorry, by Eliza West, but Ashley Larson just came flying in there. And all of a sudden, where we sit is a 70-67 Southern Utah lead. Southern Utah with the ball, 3-point lead, 20.8 on the game clock and 15 on the shot clock. So you got, 5.8 seconds between shot and game clock. So Utah State, I'm a little surprised they didn't elect a foul early on in the clock. I guess they're just hoping to hold them scoreless and then come back the other way and knock down a 3. Utah State from the 3-point line is doing pretty decent tonight, 7 of 18. Leading the way there, Brewster with 4 of 7. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it comes down to. If Utah State can get the stop, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the ball back in Brewster's hands to try and finish things out. So teams in the huddle, just about to break and come back out onto the court. Again, Southern Utah ball, 3-point lead and 20.8 on the game clock, just a 5 seconds between shot and game clock. So best case scenario, without fouling, Utah State gets it back with 5 seconds to play and a 3-point deficit. Southern Utah to inbound. They get it in. It was risky, but Cardenas gathers it in. Cardenas being defended by Eliza West. Gets at the baseline, slows things down. 5 on the shot clock. Driving in. Ashley Larson drives in, goes up for the shot, makes the shot. No, they're going to call the offense. She made the shot, and they're going to call the charge on Larson. So offensive foul in a crucial time for Southern Utah. And Utah State's going to get it back with 8.1 on the shot clock, or on the game clock, and a 3-point deficit. Really nice job by Utah State to draw the foul. I believe that was Olivia West drawing it near the baseline. So really crucial, big call by the officials. They're going to say that the Utah State did have their feet planted, and that's going to prove very costly on Southern Utah, because had it gone the other way, had it been a foul on the Aggies, it would have been the shot and a free throw coming up. And a 5 to 6 point lead, really insurmountable. Instead, Utah State going to have it. 70-67 is the score. Aggies hoping for overtime. And 8.1 on the clock. Again, as Coach Finkbeiner is talking to his team and drawing up a play, I have to imagine that the number one player that they're hoping to go to would be Rachel Brewster. Brewster's 4 of 7 from 3-point on the night. But you have a couple of really good options there. If Brewster's covered, as Southern Utah is probably going to try their very hardest to do. You've also got Olivia West. Olivia West, 2 of 5 from the 3-point line tonight. She entered tonight's contest with the best 3-point percentage on the team, 8 of 16. So she's been pretty solid and consistent this year and seems to have that ice in her veins. that clutch presence. So I imagine we'll see either Olivia West or Rachel Brewster get it here. But we will see Utah State inbounding from near their own bench. It'll be Duffley with the inbound. Duffley goes into Eliza West. Eliza West pressured high, 6 on the shot clock, on the game clock. Eliza West trying to find somebody. She's not even going to find anybody. She's just put it up herself from 3, and it doesn't go. That's the game. Olivia West. So Utah State, I mean, that's how it's going to go. Eliza West she got a three-pointer off, but it was a very poor three-pointer that was highly contested. She kind of put it up with just her left hand, and she just held the ball for the last 7 seconds of the game. That's really an unacceptable way for Utah State to finish things out. I'm sure that's not what Coach Finkbeiner was looking for, and things just really kind of fell apart for the Aggies there at the end. For the second straight year, Utah State's going to lose to Southern Utah, a team that last season went 7-23 on the season. Utah State falling to 1-3 this year, and a lot of questions that Utah State needs to answer in the coming days. Really just, I mean, I don't really know what to say. When you give up 18 steals to the other team, you're not going to win many games. You get just absolutely outplayed when it comes to turnovers, 24-10. We do have Coach J.C. Carter, who's coming to join us here for a quick post-game interview. So we cut to that. Coach, how are you? Good to have you here.
Oh, thanks.
I'm sure you're probably not feeling too great after that, but just explain what was the team's objective there coming out of the huddle with the last 10 seconds on that last play.
Yeah, obviously, it's a set coming out of the sidelines play. And we had a double screen for our shooter, and she got hung up in it. So Eliza just tried to improvise and get a shot off, and with that few seconds left, that's about all she could do. But it's a good play, usually works, but they did a good job defending it.
So, Coach, Southern Utah got 18 steals tonight. What is it that they were doing on defense that made it so hard for Utah State to break the press and to get things open on offense?
Yeah, they did a good job in the second half going to that press. It's a man press, and it's a run and jump, and so it's kind of a surprise attack. But, yeah, they had 18 steals. A lot of us, we got to be stronger with the basketball, and but they did a good job executing that. And, we were trying to create that tempo in the first half, and we decided the second half to just go to our half-court man, and that we were able to get a lot of stops with that because they attacked that. But we got to take care of the basketball. We got to be a lot stronger.
So going forward out of this one, I mean, obviously a really tough loss. You've had a couple of those here this season already. Moving forward out of this one, what are the positives you take, and what do you do just moving forward into the next game?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to win on the road and at least win half of them on the road, and that's what we've been talking to our team about. And this was a kind of grinded out basketball game, and that they're a tough team. Their record wasn't indicative of what they've done this year and who they've played, and so we knew they were going to be a tough test. They've been shooting the three well. We just got to make tougher plays. We've got to box out better. We gave up too many offensive rebounds. We had too many turnovers. We allowed their defensive pressure to affect our passes, and so we've got to slow down, play tougher, and get the possessions we want.
All right, Coach. I appreciate you joining us.
No problem. Thanks, Jaden.
Have a good night.
All right, thanks.
So that's Coach J.C. Carter joining us after Utah State's tough loss to Southern Utah. Coach Carter, an assistant on the team. Again, just a tough one for Utah State. It's going to be a tough one to swallow. It's going to be a tough 5-hour bus ride home from Cedar City. A lot of questions the team needs to answer moving forward. You're sitting at 1-3 on the season. Your only win coming over Dixie State. It was a Division II program, and you've lost to 3 teams. I mean, I'll include Arizona in this. I know they're Pac-12, but bottom tier Pac-12. It's the 11th team out of 12 in that conference, and three games that Utah State feels they should have won, or at least I don't know. Utah State should feel disappointed that they're 1-3 when they could be 3-1, 4-0 quite easily. Obviously, it came down to last-second plays tonight and against UC Irvine, and those you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But tough for Utah State. Again, 18 steals by Southern Utah to 5 for the Aggies. 24 turnovers for the Aggies to 10 by Southern Utah. Other than that, I mean, I can't say just other than that because that's such a huge thing, and obviously, turnover margin is probably the most important stat in basketball. But other than that, Utah State won just about every battle. They out-rebounded 43-40. They outshot them 43% to 34. You hold the team to 34% and you lose. That's tough to swallow. You outshot them from 37% to 24%. I mean, that's about all there is to it. You block them 6 times. They only get 1. Utah State going to move forward with this one. They've got Idaho State next week. I guess, this coming Monday. So they're gonna head up to Pocatello for that one, another road game, and that's going to be next Monday at 7:00 p.m. We're going to have that game here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com, as we will for every single game this season. Southern Utah moving forward. They're now 1-3, so each of these teams 1-3 after this. They've got UC Davis here at home, followed by Cal State Bakersfield also here at home. I do want to point out what Coach Carter said, and I feel like I'm being harsh on the team, but you just lost to a team that last season was 7-23. Going back to Coach Carter's point, though, this is, while they're 0-3 coming into this, and while they had a really poor record last season, this is a tough team. They hung with a BYU program that is always phenomenal in women's basketball, not in football. I should definitely mention that. But they hung really tight, took a BYU team to overtime on the road in a game that they had. They really led for most of that game, had a big lead going into the final minutes. They lost to San Diego, a pretty tough West Coast Conference team, and they lost to Binghamton. So while they're 0-3, this isn't Division II. This isn't a Dixie State. This isn't one of those kind of teams. It's a team that is going to certainly put up a tough matchup for every team that they play this season. But unfortunately for the Aggies, that's just how it goes. They fall to 1-3 on the season. I think we're just going to wrap things up from there. Utah State's leading scorer, Olivia West, with 22. Leading rebounder, Shannon Duffesey, with just an absolutely ridiculous 19 rebounds. Far and away a career high. And she's been phenomenal her entire career in the rebounding category. I mean, she is averaging better than a double-double this season, has a couple already. Last season, Duffesey had, 8.7 rebounds per game. So a very good rebounder, but she gets 19. And Eliza West with 4 assists. For Southern Utah, Whitney Johnson had 20 points, and Johnson also had 9 rebounds. So, I mean, huge impact by Whitney Johnson, the New Mexico transfer. And in the assist category, Sanchez with 5. Again, we're going to be back at it next Monday after the Thanksgiving break. I know a lot of players heading home for the break, or at least, heading out of town. They're going to be back in town, I know, by Friday, back to practice. So just a few days off for the team. It's kind of nice for them to get Thanksgiving off. A little bit of a rare thing when you're a college athlete. Doesn't happen too often. So they're going to head home for a little bit and come back against Idaho State next Monday. I'm going to be there in Pocatello for the call, as we will be for every game this season. Following that, an exciting trip to Hawaii for the Maui Classic, as they're going to take on Montana State and Oregon State out on the islands. Be there for that as well. You can catch every single game this season on AggieRadio.com, and the non-conflicting games, meaning the games that don't interfere with the men's games or football games, will be on Aggie Radio 92.3 in Logan. I'm Jaden Johnson. I appreciate you joining me tonight for what was kind of a tough one for the Aggies, but if nothing else, a fun game to watch, a fun game to call. It's good to be here, and I'm excited to follow the team for the rest of the season. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, go Aggies.